What's going on, everybody? Corey here for another Insight of the Week. I'm a little bit late this week, mostly just I've been busy. This week's kind of been crazy for allergies. I've had some doctor's appointments. Last Sunday, I actually pulled a filling out of my tooth and had to go have an emergency appointment to get that fixed and was sore for a couple days. So it's kind of thrown me a little off on the game. And then I've also been struggling with what do I want to talk about for this week's video. And this week I want to talk about one of my favorite things when it comes to magic. And that is, I love books, but my favorite form is collected newsletters. And if you're not getting in on that, you're missing out. So I've got newsletters that go back. I think the oldest ones I have go back to the 1930s and the Jinx. Now I don't have these individually. I only have the bound copies. So like I've got all 3 volumes of the Jinx here. I think they go to 150 something. These are great books. In fact, one of the effects that I'm releasing or re-releasing that I released back in like 2007 is based off of a trick. In here, it's the trick hallucinations. And I've always been drawn to the effect. It's such a hard-hitting trick. But it has to be done for a group. And, you know, that kind of alienates a lot of close-up guys. But it's good for parlors. Good for, honestly, it's good for like a walk-around situation if you've got a group around you. But I've always loved the trick. So with what I'm doing, I'm kind of taking the original, I'm going to be publishing the original handling, then kind of my update to the handling along with the card that's required, and then some additional kind of fun things to do with the card and with the deck, or the reveal. So that's hopefully coming soon. There's also, speaking of this, I want to give a shout out to the Jinx experiment. I think that's his name. I should have checked that before starting this video because I don't prepare. The Jinx Experience over on Instagram, he's got a Ko-fi account or coffee account. That's KO-FI, where he is doing these newsletters and kind of getting them back out to the public. So there is a subscription fee, but it's worth checking out. And so if you don't have the Jinx and you can't get a bound copy, check out the Jinx Experience and subscribe to them. I think it's €650, I think, a month, so about 7 something a month US. But definitely worth checking out. But I love everything that's in that. Another set of books that are bound that I really like are Harry Lorraine's Apocalypse series. And you just get so much information out of these. It's not just because it's a fat book. You're getting newsletters that people submitted their work to. People that you've never even heard of submitting their work. That is some of the best magic you'll ever read. And I'm a big, one of my big things that I've always said, with a magic book, if you're able to buy a magic book and get one trick out of it, that magic book was worth it. With these newsletter books, or these, with these newsletters in general, sure, you might go through a few newsletters where it's like, okay, well, nothing here speaks to me. But when you buy these bound copies, especially, there's just so much. One, like, there's a couple of my books back there that are newsletter books that I've not even made it through, like, a quarter of them because I find so much material in the first bit of the book that I'm like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to work on this. And there's just so much value to newsletters. And I love that we're seeing more and more newsletters coming out. I subscribe to a couple of them that are like the newer versions, like the Jinx Experience. I just subscribed to when I found out about it. There's the Hermit, which is amazing. I've already found a couple things that have been released in just the first 2 issues that I'm like, that's something I'm doing. And with, our modern creators, the disclaimer is another one. And it's another one that's on Ko-fi or Coffee or however you say it. But there's just so much good magic. But I do recommend getting out there and really looking at what's to offer. Some of the ones that I have that I've mentioned. The Jinx, Apocalypse, Chronicles, Epilogue, the Paw Bears reviews, Hugard's Magic Monthly, the Magic Menu, Magic Hannah. What else do I have? That might be all I have. I might have a few more. I don't remember. It's been a while. Let me grab one real quick. The Kabbalah might have been a newsletter. I don't think it was, though. No, I don't think it wasn't a newsletter. There's so many out there, and there's so many that I don't have. It's kind of where the benefit of subscribing to being an IBM or a SAM member and getting the Linking Ring or Mum magazine, or even subscribing to Genie just for the tricks. And honestly, if the IBM and SAM were really smart, they would start going back through their catalog. And maybe they haven't, maybe I've missed it, but they would start going back through their catalog and say, hey, we're going to do this chunk of Linking Rings, and we're just going to pull the trick sections out, the parades and stuff like that out, and just put those in a book and sell them to our members, or sell them out there for people to get their hands on. You're going to run into dated stuff, but so much stuff you can easily look at and bring into a modern look and feel. And honestly, if Linking Ring, or even if Genie were to sit there and say, hey, we're going to combine and take all of our old submitted tricks from Magic Magazine and Genie, just put those in a book and sell those, you'd have a lot of people to buy them. I would buy it in a heartbeat just to have a condensed version, because I don't need the whole magazine. Most of the magazines are you've got some good articles, sure, but you got a lot of ads. Anyone who's been in a health and fitness industry, who's ever bought in any kind of health and fitness magazine or a bodybuilding magazine, they're 90% ads, 10% content, and that's how Magic magazines basically are too. If you've never actually read one, maybe about 80% ads and 20% content, but it's still not a whole lot. It's comparable to buying a dirty magazine, or what you think is dirty, and it's all fluff and then just some pictures. But again, if you've not looked at any newsletters, check them out. I don't have any, none of the new ones out there are a sponsor of mine. But the ones that I mentioned that are current, the disclaimer, where Curtis Cam is involved in that. I don't remember how much it is. Again, it's on Ko-fi, and I'll put some links in the description of this video. The Hermit, I think, is about $100 a year. It's $10 a newsletter, or you could do a 6-month subscription or a year subscription. I want to say it's about $100 a year. And then the Jinx experience for probably about $30. And again, I'll have information in the description. You're going to have yourself a good amount of content. The only thing that I'll say negative about the disclaimer is you have to make sure that you download the newsletter, because they do, after a few months, the older ones start going away if you don't download them. So you just have them bookmarked, you don't get those. Now, what they do that I enjoy, that if you have signed up for one of their higher tier memberships, is at the end of the year, they're going to take those newsletters for that year and put them in a book and send them to you. So you're going to have a book that is limited to just the subscribers at that time. And you're going to have something physical that you're going to be able to share, but it's only for certain tiers. I think it's a silver and gold tier. And I'm a gold tier member, which has been limited to a smaller amount of people. I think they're opening it up to a little bit more. But I do like that aspect. I'm hoping that the Hermit goes that route. Uh, but we'll see. But that's all I've got to talk about. I love newsletters. They're worth so much more than going and buying individual tricks all the time. And you're going to get so much more content, so much more material that you're going to be able to use. You're going to be able to practice. And again, like you're going to find some dated stuff. You're going to that doesn't make sense. No one does that anymore. But you're going to be able to, if you're inclined enough, you're going to be able to take that, twist it around, and make it something that'll work in today's world of magic. And so much magic that you see today, you're going to see was inspired by some of these old tricks in these old magazines. So, or these old newsletters. So check them out. Again, if you don't have any of them, try to find bound copies. My top recommendations are going to be Paul Bear's Reviews, Epilogue Chronicles, Apocalypse, and the Jinx. Those are the ones that I've had the most interaction with. But you usually can't go wrong when you buy a big old bound book with over 100 newsletters in it. But that's where we're going to cut it off today. Sorry for the lack of video, I guess, last week, because it's probably going to go up later. It's probably not going to go up the day I'm recording this, which is a Saturday. But I'm going to try to get back on schedule. I'm going to try to change my date that I publish to from Thursday to Wednesdays. And hopefully have more of a normal schedule going forward. But thanks for checking out the video, and we will catch you next time.